This is the Oz report for January 6, 2024. And before I jump into Plex and Plex adjacent categories, let's have a quick look at the overall large categories and even what has happened in the last week, just because I've been away from the Oz report and the game for so long that I want to quickly talk about what has happened since the start of the year. So we immediately see that overall Moon materials are down just a little bit, nothing major there, but ice products are up 4% just this week alone. That is quite significant. We see that ancient salvage is 5% down. So the demand for T3Cs that came from the events over the last month or two, especially prices were high in October on these. It's slowly coming down. It's not down yet, but it's slowly coming down. And same on gas cloud materials. Gas cloud materials are down 4% this week, which is also overall quite significant. These had been flying high since the Havoc expansion because they were needed to build all the new ships, and they're also needed for other ships in game, mainly faction ships and larger ships that were just in higher demand over the last 2 to 3 months because of the events, because of the expansion, and because of the increased player numbers. So abyssal materials are up 4%. That is interesting because clearly we were seeing people running events instead of running abyssals. So we have less supply for abyssal materials, and that means that abyssal ships are going to increase in price as well, because abyssal ships are still popular while abyssal space is being run less. So you have the same demand for less supply, and so now we have abyssal materials going up in price. The next interesting thing is skill extractors. We'll talk about those in more detail right now, but they're up 3%. So they're just approaching the typical 500 million again. Best investment ever, if you ask me. And other than that, on ships, battle cruisers are up 4%, but that's just more of an anomaly. Modules are all coming down. That's a response to the event being over, and overall just prices were just super high for modules in between October and December. The only thing still going up is T2 rigs, just because salvage materials, there are some salvage materials that are going up significantly. Now, let's jump into the game client here, because we're going to talk about Plex and Plex adjacent stuff. So overall, actually, before I do that, overall, let's quickly have a look at this, and that's the skill farming formula, because it puts everything else into context. Right now, the profit from running a skill farm that is committed for 12 months is 500 million. That is down from 1 billion not too long ago. It was 1 billion. It hit 1 billion over the last month. All right. So this might seem high, but it's much lower than it has been overall. So overall, skill farming right now is not as profitable as it was. That doesn't mean that there's immediately less skill injectors being produced, because these people that do skill farming do this for the long term. So this just means that in the long term, like months from now and a year from now, this might have an impact on large skill injectors. But it's still important to keep this formula in mind when we look at exactly this, and that is the Plex and Plex adjacent category. Now, large skill injectors, they have been coming down in price. This is mostly driven by cheaper skill extractors, which directly impact the cost of large skill injectors. So we're now hitting a region, though, where the price is very low. Skill extractors are rising in price again. Plex prices are fairly steady, and so where the point where we are right now, large skill injectors, I don't think they're going to drop any further from here. 870 seems to be a good price here. If we're looking at skill extractors, this has been definitely the best investment all year if you have the funds to invest in these. Skill extractors hit sub 400 million prices twice over the last 12 months. And these are items that are trading at about 1 trillion a day. And so the volume that you can trade these at is almost infinite, right? And so if you had the money to invest in these huge sales that happened twice over the last 12 months, then this was probably the best investment you made all year. I myself invested 1 trillion of the Delta funds into skill extractors, and and so without doing anything, this has been riding all the way back to 500 million, which is what we all hoped for. We didn't know, but now it is almost there. Skill extractors are at 484 million. And again, Plex, fairly steady. So it is increasing slightly, but I feel like it's quite amazing that CCP has been able to apparently, dial this in to manage this price just sub 500 or sub 5 million for, the better part of the last half a year. So before that, we still had, the extremes with extreme sales, Plex are getting sales, skill extractor sales. But since then, it's been fairly steady. And, there are a lot of good things about a steady Plex price. It introduces stability into the economy. It makes people be able to plan better. And, I think overall, this is a good sign because in the end, hugely fluctuating Plex prices really just makes the very rich players richer because they're the ones that speculate on these prices, and rising Plex prices make it more expensive for a lot of people to sub, at least. Now, master DOM cerebral accelerators. These are interesting because if you look at the orange graph right here, the orange graph is the median day price, or the moving average over 20 days. That's the medium term moving average. So ignore the blue one, which is very short term and very erratic. If you look at the orange line, you see that it was dropping forever for about 4 or 5 months, and now it has actually turned around. And the reason for that is being that the ISK efficiency, so the SP that you get per ISK, it's just amazing at 80 million. So right now at 84 million, the master DOM cerebral accelerators are a very, very interesting alternative to the large skill injector, especially if you're a high SP character that doesn't get as many skill points anymore from a large skill injector. So these are just popular, and that combined with the fact that now everybody that has gotten these from retroactively using the referral codes that people were doing a lot over here between July and October, now this has dropped down a lot. So supply has regulated, price is really attractive. So right now these are actually a fairly good buy if you're getting these on the buy side. So you can see here 80 million, 79 million. These are very, very good prices on the buy side. So master DOM cerebral accelerators definitely are receiving a turnaround. Now, I spend a lot of time on Plex and Plex adjacent stuff, but that's because I haven't been streaming a lot, and I haven't covered the markets in the long term. And certainly this is the most important part of the market because this is almost half of the ISK that is being moved around. Now, having said that, let's quickly go through these categories. What's trading at high volume? Unsurprisingly, Paralensia and other agency drugs. This is easily the best investment tip I can give you right now. Agency drugs, especially Paralensia, those are the most popular ones. They have been dropping from the winter event like crazy. You can see the increased volume here. First, they dropped from the Halloween events. Now they dropped from the winter event. And so the supply is just as high as at no other point of the year. So right now is the time when you want to buy these. If you can buy these from with a buy order at, this is Pyrolencia 1 at 3.2 million, insanely good price. Pyrolencia 4s, if you're into a little bit higher volume in terms of trade volume, Pyrolencia 4s at 44 million buy price. Historically speaking, insanely good price, and there's always going to be demand for these. So easily right now, this is the best and easiest investment that you can make. If you use them on buy orders, you might even be able to flip them continuously over the next few months. High volume as well. Contaminated Lawrence fluid. Yes, some of these salvage goods, you can see that certainly people are building structure modules and structure rigs because there's a fairly high demand for them right now. Let's look at largest supply drops. So what's been bought up in the market? I want to point you to crystalline isogen 10. I said this earlier. Crystalline isogen 10 is one of those abyssal materials that's used for Triglavian ships, and the supply of it has just been dwindling, and so prices have been increasing. People are running less abyssal space because of all the good events that were going on that were quite profitable and easy to jump into, and so right now we're seeing a very, very low supply for these. Having said that, these events are over. People are going to return to abyssal space, so expect the prices for crystalline isogen and the other one, 0-point condensate, we expect them to come back down very soon. And so if you're sitting on a bunch of Triglavian ships, if you're sitting on 0-point condensate or crystalline isogen 10, I think right now is a good time to sell these because I don't expect the supply to be short forever. The Nestor is the Sisters of Eve battleship, and it has increased in price significantly, and it's also dropped in supply significantly. Sisters of Eve LP has been expensive, and the Nestor is quite popular, and so here, this is certainly a very, very high price, and it doesn't look like easing up. There's almost none left in the market, so if you're sitting on Nestors, go sell them. Let's see what else is in short supply. This is less than one trade day available. All right, less than one trade day available. Power circuits, interestingly, another salvage good that is short in supply. Chaotic exotic filaments, very short in supply. Again, we're seeing crystalline isogen 10 in this list as well. The Nestor is in this list as well, and Plex is always in that list, right? Let's see what else. Trending down in price. This is the mycocerrosin. This is the gas I was talking about earlier. So certainly we're seeing Viridian mycocerrosin and Celadon mycocerrosin dropping in price quite significantly, and that is just a result of there being less demand on it. There was an absolute shortage here, and now it's just returning back to normal because people have had their fill of the new ships, and production has dropped, as we saw from the monthly economic report earlier. So that, and probably more people going out and actually huffing this gas because it was insanely profitable to do so. And trending up, interestingly enough, cesium is a raw moon material that is very high, that increased in price very much. 7,200 on cesium is a price we haven't seen in a long time. So I'm happy. I have a stockpile of these, but so if you have cesium lying around right now, is the time to sell. I think this is more like a short-term spike. Other than that, we're seeing a bunch of amulets and other implants here. We're also seeing the porpoise here as spiking in price. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the underpriced categories. So what's actually underpriced in here? We already talked about Pyrolencia. there are a bunch of Moon materials that are trading way below their 52-week average, like titanium, like platinum, like atmospheric gases. These are all good buys in from my point of view. And then, interestingly enough, also the worm. The worm was very high priced. This contains a lot of the microcerosine gas that we were talking about. So certainly that dropping in price helps. There's also a production bonus in Zarzak for these, I think, right? And also Guristas LP directly impacts the worm production costs. And so, the blueprint has probably dropped in price as well. So quite a significant drop in the production costs of worms, and that is reflected here in its market price. This is a fantastic ship. So if you like to fly worms, this is good. This is good news. In terms of minerals, Zydrine continues to drop. We can see that it has dropped to where we had previous supports. So I think Zydrine at this point is a good buy if you need another thing to buy. And let's finish today looking at the new ships and the way the price has developed. So the Alligator, since the last time I streamed, the Alligator was still around 900 million. Now the Alligator is around 700 million. The Kisriel is down at 600 million, which is great. You can see those new ships coming down in price. And the Mamba and Mekobal are around 150 million, also down from a much higher initial price. So good to see that those prices are coming down. More people can fly them. All right, that's the Oz report for January 6, 2024. And we're going to return to the regular stream. See you guys next week.